The Ashtavakra Gita, presented by Svayam Prakash Sharma, part 20 of 20, chapter 20, conclusion. This is the concluding part of the Ashtavakra Gita. It consists of the last chapter, chapter 20. The wise king Janaka, after listening to the discourse of Ashtavakra on the Atma, realizes the transcendence of the Atma. He realizes that the Atma is relationless. It is absolute and it is supreme. He understands that there is neither Jeev nor is there Brahm. There is neither relation nor is there absoluteness. There is neither bondage nor is there emancipation. There is neither unity nor is there duality in the transcendent self or Atma, which is beyond all relativities, which is beyond all formulations, and which is beyond all denials. All distinctions and differences that are known to human thought and imagination are overcome in the self or the Atma. Janak realizes that the transcendental unity of the Atma of Brahm demolishes and removes all the subtle logical distinctions and fine conceptualizations that lie in the path of self introspection, that screen and hide the ultimate reality. He understands that at the end of the path, nothing remains but the self or the Atma, or that or the unknowable Brahm. The person who discards the notion that he knows the Atma, that he knows Brahm, he actually knows Brahm, he actually knows the Atma and none else. Yes, only such a one knows the Atma or Brahm and none else. Chapter 20, conclusion. Janak says, to my signless self, what are the gross elements of nature? What is the body? What are the organs of senses? What is the mind? What is the void? And what is the state that transcends hope? The state that goes beyond hope? To myself or Atma, that is without any signs or indications. There are no physical elements of nature. There is no body. There are no organs of senses. There is no mind. There is no void. And there is no state that goes beyond hope. I have now realized that the pure self or Atma is the eternal knower and witness of all that happens in nature. It is the eternal knower and witness of all that happens in the body. And it is the eternal knower and witness of all that happens in the mind. It is also the knower and witness of the internal experience of the mind's emptiness. The Atma also transcends. It surpasses all expectations and all hopes as well. I have now understood the completeness of the Atma. To me, who have always overcome the duality of opposites, what is scripture and what is knowledge of the self or Atma? What is the mind that is dissociated from objects? And what is contentment? To me, who have forever overcome the duality of opposites, there is no scripture, there is no knowledge of the Atma, there is no mind that is dissociated from the objects, and there is no contentment. I now know that it is the mind that feeds on the pairs of opposites. Therefore, when the very mind that feeds on the pairs of opposites, when that mind fades away, then there is neither any quest for the sense objects or for knowledge, nor is there any opposition between satisfaction and dissatisfaction. I have understood that there is a basic conflict between diverse pairs of opposites in the phenomenal world that arise from mutually competing gunas or attributes. I also understand that all the goals of life, those of dharma or righteousness, those of earth or earning wealth, those of calm or fulfilling desire, and those of moksha or salvation, they all involve a struggle of opposites of duties and their non fulfillment, all of which have to be overcome for attaining the Atma. What is knowledge and what is ignorance? What is ego and what is the world? What is mind and what is bondage? What is liberation and what is definition of the essential self? For me now, there is no knowledge, there is no ignorance, there is no ego, there is no world, there is no mind, there is no bondage, there is no liberation, there is no definition of the essential self or Atma. I now understand that the Atma experiences complete and permanent unity, as a result of which all notions of I and it, of ignorance and knowledge, of bondage and liberation disappear. To myself, who am always free from being described in minute details, what is the ripening of action that pertains to previous births? What is liberation in life? And what is aloneness in death? To myself, who am always free from being described in minute details, there is no ripening of action that pertains to previous births. There is no liberation in life, and there is no aloneness in death. I now know that the Atma, having lost its individual existence, is no longer under the influence and sway of the law of karma and the conditions of liberation in life and liberation in death, both of which conditions involve the sense of body, the sense of ego, and activity. To myself, who am ever devoid of natural attributes, what is the doer of action and what is the enjoyer of the fruit of such action? What is inaction and what is manifestation? What is direct apprehension of the self and what is the fruit thereof? To myself, who am always devoid of attributes of nature, there is no doer of action, there is no enjoyer of the fruit of such action, there is no inaction and there is no manifestation. There is no direct apprehension of the self, and there is no fruit of such direct apprehension. I no longer witness the upsurge of any impulses that are derived from human nature, and I have no sense of being the doer, of being the enjoyer, or of being the knower. To my indivisible essential self, what is the world and what is the aspirant for liberation? What is the yogi and what is the wise man? What is the non free and what is the free man? To my indivisible essential self, there is no world, there is no aspirant for liberation, there is no yogi, there is no wise man, there is no non free man, and there is no free man. I now know that the complete unity of the self nullifies all experiences of the world and the status of man, whether he is a seeker of knowledge or whether he is a yogi, whether he is in freedom or whether he is in bondage. To my indivisible essential self, what is creation and what is withdrawal? What is the end goal and what is the means to achieve that end goal? Who is the seeker and what is accomplishment? To my indivisible essential self, there is no creation and there is no withdrawal. There is no end goal and there is no means to achieve that end goal. There is no seeker and there is no accomplishment. I now understand that the non duality of the self or the Atma excludes all notions of creation and destruction, of ends, of actions, and of means. To the self ever taintless, what is the knower and knowledge? What is the means and the object of knowledge? And what is knowledge? What is something and what is nothing? To the self or the Atma that is always taintless, there is no knower and knowledge. There is no means and the object of knowledge, and there is no knowledge. There is no something and there is no nothing. I now understand that non duality cannot be attained with the fusion of the three basic categories of the knower, the object of knowledge, and the knowing contemplation. In non duality, nothing exists except self effulgence. I also understand, firstly, that the self or the Atma is indemonstrable and relationless. It is beyond proof and it is beyond relativity. And secondly, the Atma itself comprises the knower, the object of knowledge, and the means of knowledge. For the all encompassing Atma, nothing exists outside of itself. I understand that the self is only relationless existence. To me, who am ever actionless, what is distraction and what is concentration? What is inertia and what is delusion? What is joy and what is sorrow? To me, who am always actionless, there is no distraction and there is no concentration. There is no inertia and there is no delusion. There is no joy and there is no sorrow. I have understood that the completely passive Atma transcends the distinction between fixation and distraction, between inertia and delusion, and between joy and sorrow. To me, who am ever free from discursive or analytical reasoning, what is relation and what is absoluteness? What is happiness and what is misery? To me, who am always free from discursive or analytical reasoning, there is no relation and there is no absoluteness. There is no happiness and there is no misery. The self or the Atma abandons all analytical reasoning. It is devoted to intuitional illumination and it does not distinguish between existence and transcendence. To me, who am ever taintless, what is illusion and what is the ephemeral, the fleeting world? What is attachment and what is repulsion? What is Jeev or the empirical self? And what is that Brahm? To me, who am always without any taint, there is no illusion and there is no ephemeral fleeting world. There is no attachment and there is no repulsion. There is no Jeev or empirical self, and there is no that or Brahm which cannot be described. I now understand that once the Jeev abides in the self or Brahm or Atma, then that Jeev itself becomes devoid of all conditions and relativities, and it also then cannot be denoted or described by any means. To me, ever abiding in the immutable and indivisible self, what is any impelling or driving force, and what is withdrawal? What is liberation and what is bondage? To me, who always abides in the immutable and indivisible Atma, there is no impelling or driving force, and there is no withdrawal. There is no liberation, and there is no bondage. I now understand that abidance in the Atma is not sullied, is not tainted by the human conditions of attachment and detachment, and of bondage and liberation. To me, who am Shiv, to me, who am the supremely blissful, tranquil, and good and unconditioned, what is teaching and what is scripture? What is disciple and what is master? And what is the ultimate goal of life? To me, who am Shiv, to me, who am the supremely blissful, tranquil, and good and unconditioned, there is no teaching, there is no scripture, there is no disciple, there is no master, and there is no ultimate goal of life. In my spiritual progress, I have surpassed the last of the pairs of opposites, that of the distinction between instruction or scriptural injunction and the seeker of knowledge, and that between the guru or master and the pupil. I have surpassed the last pairs of opposites. What is existence and what is non existence? What is dual and what is non dual? There is no existence and there is no non existence. There is no dual and there is no non dual. Nothing of me ever springs up. What more can be said? Yes, nothing of me ever springs up. What more can be said? Adoration to the self, adoration to the Atma, for whom there is neither source nor becoming, for whom there is neither past nor the present nor the future, for whom there is neither space nor eternity, for whom there is neither the illumination of Vidya or knowledge, nor the illusion of avidya or ignorance. The only lonely Keval Atma is silent, is mourn. The silence of the self, the silence of the Atma is its own inherent preferred attitude. Yes, the silence of the Atma is its own inherent preferred attitude. Om Sachidananda Roop Paramatmane Namah. Om Tat Sat Tat Param Brahma. This concludes the Ashtavakra Gita series of 20 parts. Om Shanti 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 Om.